Hello folks, Alex here. Welcome or welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, time for a bit of a catch up, a bit of a ramble on various things. My last ramble was back in May, 2 months ago, so it's been a while. And honestly, I've read very little, hardly anything at all in those last couple of months. Well, I tell a lie on that because I've actually read over 300 short stories for another bumper submission pile for Fun in the Dark Small Town Weirdness, as well as proofreading a 200,000 plus word book, non-fiction book, for work as well. So I have been reading, but I've been reading in the day, and not my pleasure reading, although it has all been very pleasurable. But yeah, at the end of a day of doing that kind of work, especially things like proofreading, which are quite intense, that kind of task, I just don't have the brain energy left to then sit down of an evening after tea and read something or even listen to something. I think my brain is all worded out at that point. So it's only in the last couple of weeks that I've actually really got back into reading for pleasure, leisure reading, in the evening. So I'll whip through the couple of things that I've read for that today, but also I want to get back into that. I want to find a way to get back into being able to read in the evenings. I knew when I started editing, proofreading, etc., and when I started publishing and putting out open calls, that the amount of stuff I was going to have to read during the day, or that wasn't, for leisure, so to speak, was going to have an impact on my reading, and it has. And I don't mind that at all. I mean, I'm loving what I'm doing, but I do need to find a balance. So I've got a couple of ideas of how to kind of get back into reading, which tie in nicely with a couple of events we've got coming up in August. So I'll go through those today with my plans for those events and some of the stuff that I want to read for those. So first off, I will go through the couple of things that I managed to get through recently. So first of all, I thought I would ease my way back in to sitting down after tea with a book or something to read, with a comic, because they're nice and easy. So I read Retroverse by Cullen Bunn, with John Bivens on the art. And this wasn't bad. This was good fun, short, quite punchy. And this is about a 19-year-old girl, Casey, who after a wild drunken party wakes up in an alternative universe, one where she's been dead for 13 years. And she has to navigate this world that seems to have turned out a lot better without her in it, whilst also wielding some newly discovered, rather terrifying powers, and using those powers against some alien horrors. This was, as I say, this was fun, punchy. The story was a bit thin on the ground, but it was a very short thing. It was kind of, it was what it was, and it worked. The art I really enjoyed, actually. I did really enjoy that side of it. It was quite gross. Casey's powers involve essentially turning inside out. So it's kind of body horror type stuff. But yeah, it was good fun and a good way to kind of get myself back on the sofa with my, let's say, book, iPad in hand, actually, reading something after tea for pleasure. I also dabbled a bit in a reread of a comic, Die by Kieran Gillen, with the art by Stephanie Hans. And that was inspired by this big old book that I was proofreading, which is fantastic, and I'll definitely talk more about that on the channel when it's released. But it's basically a big collection of essays on various different things in pop culture. There's quite a bit on different comics in there. And the last chapter, in fact, is on Die. And it made me kind of think back to, I'd not finished I never managed to finish the series at the time when it first came out. And now it's been out for ages, and there's a compendium of it. There's a whole, kind of volume of it. I thought, I'll go back to that. So I dove back into that, and I'm really enjoying that as well. So I'm just going to continue reading that in bits and pieces over the next few months. So a couple of comics to get me started off. Then Adrian Tchaikovsky released a new book, and that's, you know, that's always a good way to get me back to reading. This was Green City Wars, his newest, and I read this with my friend Lecton over at Reading from the Depths. We buddy read quite a few of the Adrian Tchaikovsky books because we both love his stuff. And yeah, this is a science fiction sort of PI detective story, but with enhanced or uplifted animals in it, basically. So yeah, so this is set in Neu-Wien, so New Vienna, which is now one of several sort of perfect green cities where humans live in luxury, and they are served by these unseen little helpers, they're called, or Gehirne, as they're generally referred to in the book. And yeah, the Gehirne, or the little helpers, are these artificially enhanced animals who maintain all the workings of the city behind the scenes. And the animals have one rule, which is to not bother the humans. Don't let them see the workers. Don't let them see all of the, you know, the trash collection and the sewerage kind of workings and all that kind of stuff. Just let them live in luxury and get everything they need while somebody else kind of works behind the scenes. So enter Scotch, who is a freelance raccoon investigator. He's pulled in by his former boss at one of the big companies he used to work for that provide these little helpers, make and provide these little helpers. And yeah, he's pulled back in by his boss and tasked with finding a fugitive mouse, a mouse from the farms where all of the human food is produced, a mouse with a powerful and possibly dangerous bit of knowledge. But other forces, powerful forces, are also after Dr. Meese. And Scotch is drawn into a deadly race to find the little squeaker before all hell breaks loose, basically. This was wonderful as always from Adrian Tchaikovsky. Anybody who's watched this channel for a little bit will know that I absolutely love his stuff. So it shouldn't be a surprise that I think this is brilliant as well. I'm yet to find a book by him that I don't like. There are some that I like less, of course, but there's nothing yet that I've kind of actively disliked. Yeah, this starts as a kind of a sort of noir-esque PI kind of detective story, although it feels less so by the end, I have to say. But that doesn't bother me because I'm not a massive fan of sort of PI detective stuff anyway. So, you know, it's kind of, it's nothing lost to me. Although I will say that, like, this is the way to get me into that kind of story is, you know, make it animals, science fiction animals, and I'm in. The world building is fantastic, and this is where I think Tchaikovsky's strengths really always lie, is in just phenomenal world building. You know, the way that the society works, the politics, the religions of the animals, the language, how it's all thought out and planned and all works together is spot on. And also, you know, it's not just about the ideas there, but it's about how we learn about that world as well. There is no info dumping in it. We find out bits about the different elements at play, the different sort of working parts, if you like, of the society as we follow Scotch around the city and meet all the various different factions and animals. And there are so many different factions and animals that we meet in this kind of underworld of the city, the kind of backstage areas of the city. So you've got like red and grey squirrels who are at war with each other. You know, the greys are American and the reds are British. You've got pigeons, one of which is a cyborg, which I love, cyborg pigeon. You've got rats, badgers, possums, tanuki, a stoat weasel hybrid assassin, crows, newts, amphibians, mad parrots, and more. It's like there's so many, and they're also distinct. And Tchaikovsky really uses the inherent qualities of the species of the animals to kind of give them both character and also like purpose and place in the world. Like what they do is, you know, connected to their sort of inherent sort of characteristics, their behaviors, etc. So yeah, that all works beautifully together. You know, when I started it, I thought, is this going to be a little bit more of a cozy crime type thing? You know, animals and stuff like that. You know, is it going to be a bit more solar punk, that kind of thing? But it's not. It lulled me into a little bit of a false sense of security for a bit. It's never proper cozy, but it's, you know, it's charming and funny and all of that. But it does turn quite brutal at times, quite dark at times. Red in tooth and claw is definitely still applicable. Yeah, even when the animals involved can talk and do math and science and, you know, reason and philosophize and all that kind of stuff, there is still quite a lot of violence in this. Yeah, it's a quick read. It's a really compelling read. You know, it was because I was buddy reading it with Lex, and we kind of would try to read it in sort of sections, and it was kind of, you know, there were a few points, especially towards the end, where I was like, should I just do another chapter? Should I just do another chapter? And I was like, no, because I'll end up doing like 4 more chapters, and then, you know, Lex and I'll have to catch up with me. So no, it was definitely compelling. There's plenty of social commentary, as I'd expect from Adrian Tchaikovsky. I had it on audiobook, this one, which was great, with the exception, I will say, of a couple of truly awful Cockney accents. Way worse than Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, by far. But I can forgive it a couple of dodgy accents when the rest of it was really well done. Yeah, overall, great read. Absolutely recommend it, as you might expect from me and an Adrian Tchaikovsky novel. So that was what I finished just last week, or this week. Gone. So there, we're kind of up to date with my reading really at the moment in terms of what I've actually finished. But that reading Green City Wars was a really good way to kind of get me fired up again about sitting down after tea and like reading something, really getting into something. So yeah, that's my reading basically for the past 2 months in terms of pleasure reading. So let's have a little look ahead to the next month, to August, and what I've got planned. So first up then is, of course, GarbAugust, the annual Trash Fest, hosted by Ollie over at CriminOlly, is back again, of course. It is much, much simpler this year, though. There is no horde of hosts, no bingo card, no weekly prompts, nothing like that. It is just read some trash in August. That's the missive. And I wholeheartedly endorse that approach. You know, I've been a host in past years and I've enjoyed it immensely. Last year I had to step away at the last minute because things were going on in life that just meant that I needed to take a break. But it's, yeah, I can imagine it's quite a lot as a host, because you want to kind of do your best and really get into it, and I certainly do anyway. But for Ollie, it must have been an absolute nightmare organising it all. And yeah, I think absolutely just read some trash, talk about some trash, celebrate trashy fiction and all the good that it can bring to us as readers, on a really simple kind of in a simple form, is the way to go. So nice one, Ollie. So yeah, I just want to read some easy, fun, trashy books to help me get back into reading more regularly. That is my main goal with GarbAugust this year. So I've gone for 4 picks that I want to get through in the month, which will be more books in a month than I've managed to get through in a while, let's face it. I'm not going to spread myself across all the different sort of trashy genres that I've done in the past. I'm not so much a fan of romance, generally speaking, or men's adventure really, but I love horror, and I particularly love trashy horror, and I also love tie-ins and novelizations, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to focus on. All of my picks are stuff that I've got either in stock on my shelves, in my library, my audio and digital libraries, or that are a part of subscriptions that I've got on the go at the moment. So the main thing is no buying new books for GarbAugust. I'm trying not to buy any new books at the moment at all anyway, but definitely no buying new books for GarbAugust. So here's my 4 picks. First one is The Fog by James Herbert. James Herbert absolutely has got to, I think, you know, one of those sort of authors which I think fits perfectly with GarbAugust. And this will be a reread for me. So if you don't know The Fog, here's the blurb for it. It started with a crack that ripped the earth apart. Then out of the bottomless pit creeps a malevolent fog that leaves a deadly trail in its wake. John Holman is on a secret assignment from the Department of the Environment when he is dragged into the clutches of this oppressive fog. After a series of grisly axe murders, rampaging livestock, and the near loss of his own sanity, it becomes clear to John that this unstoppable fog is destined to twist the minds and devastate the lives of all that it encounters. Yet the true horror is only just beginning. I remember when I read this, 20 years ago at least, that I really loved it. It was in the few James Herberts that I've read, probably read about 6, I think 5 or 6. The Fog is in my memory my favourite. And so I want to see if it's I still feel that way. I've been having urges to reread The Fog for a couple of years actually, and I've not got round to it. So now is a perfect time to do it. Second on the list then is something by Greg Beck. I've only read one Greg Beck book before, and that was Fathomless, which is about a megalodon found deep in an underground ocean under Alaska. And it was wonderfully trashy. Really silly, but really good fun. And so I'm hoping for some more thrills and fun with something else by Greg Beck. I've been wanting to try something of his, something else of his for a while. So I've got a couple of choices here. The first one is Europa. And here's the blurb for that one. The first mission to Europa, Jupiter's enigmatic moon, has landed, and humanity's darkest fears are about to waken. For years, mankind has speculated that this frozen world harbours a hidden ocean twice the size of all Earth's oceans combined, an ocean potentially teeming with life. Driven by this tantalising mystery, they venture forth to unlock its secrets. But what they discover in the abyssal depths is far beyond anything they could have imagined. Nearly 400 million miles from Earth, their search for life has succeeded, but in their triumph they overlook the most terrifying truth. What they have found is something far older and more horrifying than they could ever have conceived. Something has been trapped in the dark for eons, watching and waiting for them. Now the crew stands at the threshold of unimaginable terror, realising too late that hell, in its purest form, is cold. I really like the sound of that. I love some science fiction space horror, some sort of big horrible monsters that are going to try and kill and devour everything. From Fathomless, Greg Beck does that well. That's a definite potential, that one. The other one that I have, which I have on audio, is the Siberian Incident. The blurb for that one is 100,000 years ago, the object hit the lake at the deepest point, quickly sinking into its mile-deep Stygian darkness. With it came something horrifying that would threaten every living thing on the face of the planet. Over the centuries, legends grew of people vanishing, of strange deformed animals, and of an unexplained luminescence down in the lake depths. When Marcus Stenson won the lucrative contract to create a sturgeon fish farm on the site of a disused paper mill on the shores of the lake, he thought he'd hit the jackpot. He refused to listen to the chilling folk tales, or even be concerned by the occasional harassment from the local mafia. But then animals were found mutilated in the frozen forest, and people started to go missing. And worse, some came back, changed horribly. In the depths of the lake, something unearthly that has been waiting for 100,000 years was stirring, and mankind will become nothing more than a host. So yeah, both of those sound wonderfully silly and potentially trashy, and horrible and thrilling. So fingers crossed, whichever one I pick will give me what I'm looking for on that. Okay, third up, we're going with sort of tie-ins, if you like, and it's got to be Warhammer for me, absolutely. There are hundreds of novels set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, of course Warhammer 40,000 being, a game, a tabletop war game. But the universe is sprawling, the lore is sprawling, and I find it fascinating and really, really just great to read the stuff around it. I've got a fair few books sat in my Audible library waiting to be read from the Warhammer 40k universe. So I've narrowed this down to two options as well. I've got Mark of Faith by Rachel Harrison. This is focused mainly on a member of the Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle, nuns with guns. Say no more, really. Trashiness. And also that's an interesting one because I don't see many female authors writing for Warhammer. And so it'd be quite good to read what somebody brings, especially to the Adeptus Sororitas stuff. And I've read some stuff. I've read some novels on the Sisters of Battle, featuring the Sisters of Battle, and the Inquisition as well, who feature in this before. And it's a faction or factions that I actually really love in Warhammer. So that's a good possible. And the other one is War Boss by Mike Brooks. And this is the Orcs, who are very trashy in their own rights. They are basically English football, modelled on English football hooligans. They have kind of their own sort of language in a little bit, and they're highly entertaining. They're the comedy value, but they're also extremely violent. Their whole purpose is to make war, basically, and beat the hell out of things. And I've read some Mike Brooks before, another Orc book, and it was highly entertaining. So there's two good ones of those. I might even get through both. Who knows? And then finally, the last one is a comic, just for something really, really easy to dip into. And that is the Alien/Vampirella collection. I think this has got to be a great find for GarbAugust reading. And the blurb for this says, two iconic horror franchises collide as Vampirella, the fan favourite supernatural heroine, faces the most nightmarish creatures ever to appear in cinema, the xenomorphs from Alien. As the first human colony on Mars digs deeper into the crimson soil, they discover the catacombs of a hibernating civilization, tens of thousands of years old. The evidence suggests that they are Nosferatu, an ancient and sinister species that Vampirella is all too familiar with. Called to the Red Planet to investigate, the monster hunter and her human allies find a chamber with hundreds of leathery eggs, and after they hatch, the true horror begins. In space, no one can hear Vampirella scream. I've got to give that one a go, really. Outside of GarbAugust, I'd give that one a go, but that's perfect GarbAugust reading for me. So there we go. That's 4 books that I will definitely read. I'll definitely get through 4. That's my goal for GarbAugust. But I may get through more if I find myself with more free time and the urge to read more trash, which is likely. I've got plenty of other stuff in my libraries. It was quite difficult picking just 4, but I didn't want to overface myself. So that's GarbAugust sorted. So the second event then is Short Story Summer, which is quite hard to say, and I'm not going to do it any faster than that. This is an event that I heard about from Crystal over at FiberArtsy. I think it's the brainchild of Randy Ray, the Literate Texan. And there's a bunch of other co-hosts on board, etc. I will link to Crystal's announcement in the description, where she's got all the information, etc. There is a bingo board and stuff like that for this one. And yeah, if you're interested, go check out Crystal's video and the other hosts' videos, etc. If you want to get involved. I'm not going to do the bingo board or anything like that, but I do want to kind of read some short stories. Because I've had an idea on my mind for a little while, which I'm actually going to kick off today, but it'll run through Short Story Summer as well, so it'll be a good way to participate in that. And that's Short Story Roulette is my idea. I've got quite a few collections of short stories, single author collections and anthologies, mixed anthologies, on my shelves and in my digital collections. And I want to get going on making progress, getting through these. I want to read more short stories anyway. It's like, you know, I do feel like I need to expand my knowledge of the form a bit more, especially now that I'm publishing more short stories and I'm trying to write them myself. I do need to kind of up my game a bit, especially, you know, just in terms of the breadth of stuff that I'm knowledgeable about. And I've got all of these short story collections kicking around, and I've barely made any progress with them. So I've decided to gamify it a little bit, because that always helps for me. And so yeah, I'll kick that off today, but this will carry me through short story summer as well. So yeah, short story roulette. I've got about 40, just over 40 anthologies or collections that I haven't read yet, or that I've read a couple of bits out of, or things that I want to reread. I have made a spreadsheet of these collections, because of course I have, and the total number of stories in these volumes comes to about 900 stories. So when I've got that many options, I tend to get choice paralysis and then not read anything. This is where the sort of gamification randomness kind of comes into it. I don't read collections and anthologies generally in order, so dipping in and out a bit will be a good way to help me mix things up, you know, in terms of different authors, different styles, different genres, etc. Although let's face it, it's predominantly horror in my library, but there is a range of kind of eras, if you like, or types of horror. So every couple of weeks I will come up with 3 short stories to read, and then read them, and then I could talk about them a bit on BookTube, and you know what my reaction to them is, and how I'm kind of learning from them, I guess, as well, potentially, and then I can, you know, come up with another 3. So this is how it works. All of the collections that I've got are in a Wheel of Names spinning wheel online. A spin of the wheel will get me the book, and then I've got some gaming dice, wherever they are here, sort of, you know, little gaming dice, different sorts, you know, D10s, D12, D20, etc. I've got some of those, and so then I can look on my spreadsheet how many stories are in the selected book, and select the appropriate die or dice to get the story number within the book. Okay then, so the first 3, I did the spinning and the rolling just before I sat down here to film, so we'll bounce backwards and forwards between me of an hour ago and me now. Okay, so number 1 is Madame Crowell's Ghost and Other Stories. There are 12 stories in this collection, so that's a D12. Okay, so that's Madame Crowell's Ghost and Other Stories by Sheridan Le Fanu, and it's story number 10 in this. So I haven't looked at what these are yet, I've just got the books out ready. So story number 10 is, need my glasses, Alto de Lacy. Not one I've ever heard of. I've heard of some Le Fanu stuff before. Alto de Lacy, A Legend of Kappa Cullen. So I have no idea what that is about. That will be interesting to dive into completely blind. Number 2 then is coming from Nightmare Hour. And there are 10 stories in this collection. So that's a D10. Okay, number 2 is Nightmare Hour by R.L. Stine, and it's story number 5, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a story called I'm Not Martin. Oh geez, okay, There's illustration / artwork in this. That's the cover image for that story, if you can see that. Creepy, yeah, creepy. So I'll look forward to that, sort of. So there we go. That's the second one. And then finally, the last story is coming from The Birds and Other Short Stories. And there are 6 stories in that collection, so that's a normal D6. Okay then, the final one is The Birds, Daphne du Maurier short stories. This is a short story collection, and it's number 1. And I think that might be The Birds. I hope it's The Birds. It is The Birds! Fantastic. Great, The Birds. Fantastic. That will probably make me want to watch the film again, the Hitchcock film. So there we go. Those are the first 3 short stories. I will read those over the next couple of weeks. And then I'll do a little roundup, and then I'll spin and roll for the next 3, and we'll see how long I can keep this up. And how many stories I can get through those 900 that I have on my list to read. Okay, so there we go. That is pretty much it. I've got my reading for the next month or so, so I will leave it there for today. I've probably been rambling long enough. I will be back again in a couple of weeks, hopefully, once I've finished off the stuff that I've got on the go, and maybe I've read a couple of other bits and pieces before August kicks in. I'm going to try and get back to making slightly more regular videos again. I've let BookTube slide quite a bit this year. I mean, you'll have seen a lot more about me, a lot more from me kind of going, look, I've got a book coming out, or, oh, there's an open call. A lot of it's been to do with the publishing side of things, and I need to find a way to balance that a bit. Still keep the publishing stuff on this channel because I like talking about it, but I just need to find a way to balance it out a little bit. And I will, of course, put out some updates and wrap-ups throughout August for how my GarbAugust reading is going, along with the short story stuff, obviously, as well. Before I do pop off, don't forget that you've only got until the 31st of July, so not long left at all now, to grab yourselves a copy of Trash Tales, or to give it its full title, CriminOlly presents Trash Tales, an Anthology of Trashy Fiction. Perfect for GarbAugust if you've not already got it. Yeah, you've only got until the 31st of July to get that to get yourself a copy before it disappears forever. Links are in the description of this video. If you want to buy a copy, paperback or an ebook, and help support Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, will be donating all profits from the sales of the book to that fabulous literacy charity. But that is it for today. Right, thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, do drop your thoughts, comments, etc. down below. It's always lovely to hear from you. I will catch you again soon, hopefully. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.